Hello, Matadors. This is Mr. Mumford. I'm here to teach how to complete the Week 3 Research and Write project for world history. The idea of this is that you actually use a source, and the source is down at the bottom of the page. The, the source is down at the bottom of the page, and it's the World History Unit, World War II, Unit 9. And the concept here is that you're going to come to the document here and try to complete this data table on this side. I want to know the who, the what, and the why for why Manchuria was invaded and how it shifted its territory. So I can come to this document here. I hit a Control F, and that will open up a little window for me to search. And I can take the word Manchuria, which I copy from the other page, and I can paste it in here, and it'll show up in green, and you can see it down here. I don't know what color. It might show up in a different color on your computer, but nonetheless, it's there. And we see it's down in 7 in the outline all the way down toward the end after the Holocaust. So I can go over to the outline of this document and find it here under Japanese aggression, Manchurian incident. Now, I have to read this, so give me a few seconds to read it, and we'll go back through the who, the what, and the why. World War II was not isolated to Europe. On September 18, 1931, an explosion ripped through a Japanese railway station located in Mukden, Manchuria in China. This event that the Japanese military called an act of terrorism, perpetrated by the Chinese, provided the pretext for a full-scale military occupation of Manchuria. The long-term goals of the Japanese military were twofold. There we go. First, the Japanese desired political control of the region with the establishment of a puppet state called Manchukuo. This action was consistent with Japanese Asia for Asians slogan, which claimed liberation of the oppressed throughout Asia. Japan deliberately targeted and attacked citizens to break the Chinese will to fight. Second, which is there you go, Japanese sought to implement the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, which worked off Japan's puppet government to control the population and the economy in the interest of Imperial Japan. This was critical as Japan's interests were also fueled by the acquisition of natural resources. Manchuria's access to coal, iron, and warm water ports proved to be enticing to the Japanese military and economy, driven by political, territorial, cultural, and economic expansion. We now have a really good answer as to why Japan wanted to attack and to imperialize Manchuria. First, Japan wanted to take political control over the region because it wanted Asia for Asians, which means it wanted to purify Asia and make sure that the European powers that had actually colonized Asia were no longer in control, and Japan would take over that imperial responsibility. The second is really the true reason why Japan wanted Manchuria. All countries, especially industrializing nations, need access to raw natural resources. These natural resources are raw materials for their industry. So this concept of natural resources is going to come up over and over and over again. So is political control and cultural control. Asia for Asians. You have that same slogan again. Hitler wanted Germany to expand into the Third Reich for Germans. You get this concept that is throughout this period of time with the Axis powers. So we kind of are going to be seeing a pattern as we build this. And so let's go to Manchuria here, and we know Japan, right, invaded Manchuria in order to expand Imperial Japan under its Asia, that in quotes, Asia for Asians slogan, and to gain access to natural resources. And let's go back and real quick check what resources Manchuria had, because Manchuria had coal, iron, and warm water ports. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to come over here and just paste it. Boom. And then what I can do once I paste it in is I can go and change it to Arial and change it to 10, I believe it is. Nope. Let me find out what I have here. I have Arial 14. So we'll do Arial 14. Arial 14. It should match up with that. Arial 14 bold. Oh, and it's also bold. So let's go with bold. And now everything is fine. I can period after that. And now I need to find a map of Manchuria. Now when I go back to the resource here, I do not see a map of Manchuria. So I want to make sure that I can find that map by clicking over here and adding another tab and doing a Google search. Manchuria. I want to put 1931 just because it's important that the date be contextualized. And if you put Manchuria 1931, there you go. You get a nice little map there. You can grab that, pull it over, and bring it in to your document and just drop it. And it works really easily. So again, when you go and you grab and you pull it over, I'm going to do a few more here. All of them are pretty much self-explanatory. They're not too hard to get to, if you understand and follow this process. But I think I'll do like 5 for you so that you have 5 good examples. I'm not going to do Rhineland, and I'm not going to do Austria or the Sudetenland, but I will do Ethiopia. Ethiopia is interesting again because this isn't Hitler yet. This is Japan and Italy who are expanding. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the document, and this time I'm going to put in Ethiopia. And I'm trying to figure out how to get my screen back. So I come back in and I want to look for Ethiopia this time. So I click and I add Ethiopia. So here it is, Ethiopia and Albania. Oh, look it. The League of Nations was riddled with major failures. For example, the failure to stop the Japanese who invaded Manchuria in 1931 and the failure to stop Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia demonstrated the organization was unable to prevent military aggression. Eager to build an overseas empire in Africa, Mussolini targeted Ethiopia in an attempt to regain control over the region. Ethiopia, backed by Russian support, had successfully defeated and ousted the Italians in the 1890s. To avenge Italy's defeat, Mussolini ordered a massive invasion in October 1935. The outdated technology of the Ethiopians was no match for the modern tanks and airplanes of the Italian military. The Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie pleaded with the League of Nations to intervene, but the League did nothing. The League of Nations was again put to the test when Mussolini invaded Albania in 1939. The League protested the invasion, but ultimately did nothing to change the outcome. So I'm looking at two things, Ethiopia and Albania here, and I got some information about who, what, and why. So we know we can go back here and we can say Mussolini or Italy. Italy invaded Ethiopia. In order to expand its territory and assert its military might, to make up for its loss in 1890. So we can think about Ethiopia as kind of Mussolini flexing his muscle to say, hey, Italy's back and you may have defeated us in the 1890s, but we're coming back strong. And it was a political reason to make up for its loss in 1890, to build confidence and nationalism. You know, the goal was nationalistic, to prove, that Italy was great. And so you find that dictators and totalitarians in this period of time wanted to have those territorial acquisitions as a way of flexing their military muscle. And it worked at home to mobilize the population to believe that things were going to be a lot better than they had been in the past. And that was the message. So let's go and find a map. Again, we did not find a map here, so we're going to go ahead and look where we had Manchuria before. We're going to go ahead and put 1935 Ethiopia. So Ethiopia 1935 and Ethiopia 1935 map. And here we find a really good one. Very clean. Again, grab it, drag it, and place it. And it usually is about the right size. When you grab the thumbnail, it fits perfectly into the box. So we have Albania in 1939. So why did Mussolini invade Albania? So let's find Albania here. Maybe some of the things may not be part of the reading or may not be as clear in the reading. I think this is one of them. So let's go here and let's put Albania up in the search. Control V after I copied it. And I have 4 instances. So the Warsaw Pact, Soviet Union, Germany, Czechoslovakia, Poland, blah, 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 and Albania. That's not the one I would want. I have the Albanian incident there, which was just in the drive. We know that Albania. We know that Albania. So we don't know what it is that Mussolini wanted with Albania. So let's look up Mussolini invades Albania. And we could probably find a really quick answer. Wikipedia is fine for me. And let's read it. April 7 to 12, 1939 was a brief military campaign by the Kingdom of Italy against the Kingdom of Albania. The conflict was a result of imperialist policies of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Albania was rapidly overrun, its ruler King Zog forced into exile, and the country made part of the Italian Empire as a protectorate in personal union with the Italian crown. So I don't know why yet he wanted it, but I do know now. Albania had long been of considerable strategic importance to the Kingdom of Italy. Italian naval strategists converted the port of Vlore and the island of Suzan as an entrance to the Bay of Vlore, as they would give Italy control of the entrance to the Adriatic Sea, a suitable base for military operations in the Balkans. So now we know why he wanted it. He wanted to have control of the Adriatic Sea by and control trade in the Balkans. So when we do that, when we begin to understand that, we begin to see the pattern. We want territory to express our cultural dominance. We want natural resources to feed our industries, and we want strategic positions to control trade. And that is what we still fight for today. So I'm going to argue that we can go back here and we can go to Albania, and Mussolini invaded Albania to gain control of trade in the Balkans. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go find my map of Albania 1939. Map. Albania annexed. Ooh, that's a good one. There it is. I like that. And I can just take that little thumbnail, drag it over to my drive, and drop it in there. Once it drops in, I can make it a little bit bigger. And that forces me to another page. So going back to the information here, again, we see that Albania had long been considered a strategic importance to the Kingdom of Italy. Italian naval strategists converted the port of Vlore and the island of Sazan at the entrance of the Bay of Vlore, as they would give Italy control of entrance to the Adriatic Sea. And if you can look right here, there you go, Adriatic Sea, and you can see Albania is down here in green, and that is what Italy was trying to do, was to control trade. And you think about, he went into Ethiopia as well, and why would he want to be in Ethiopia? So if you look at Ethiopia is down here on the Red Sea. And maybe he was trying to control trade there as well. And the truth is, Italy was in Africa, and Mussolini did have his sights on controlling northern Africa and controlling the Suez Canal, which would have allowed Italy to control trade throughout the Mediterranean. So I'm going to go ahead and say that understanding this, Italy wanted to control Mediterranean trade um, by controlling North Africa and and the Adriatic Sea. So it's fundamentally Italy controlled most of the Mediterranean. He wanted to go east in North Africa, and I'm kind of going, wow. He talked about what we learned about the last time of restoring the glory of Rome, and you think about where the Roman Empire was and how the Roman Empire controlled trade, and I'm pretty sure that Mussolini was about going about rebuilding the Roman Empire. That's part of what he was doing. Let's deal with Vichy France all the way down here in 1941. This is a really interesting part of history. It's one that's kind of left out, but it's really important. Germany didn't. I mean, there's been kind of a tradition in Europe to never destroy France. Um, Even after Napoleon, they didn't destroy France. They kind of just trying to weaken it or control France. And this whole idea of Vichy France is a perfect example of that. Hitler, when he brought his troops, he conquered all of France, but he still was underneath that impression that in order for Europe to exist, France had to exist, and so he created a puppet state called Vichy France. Um, so let's take a look at Vichy France. Let's take a copy this, Control C. Let's take it over to the document, and let's see if we can find some information about this. Control V, and boom, it comes up right really quick. We just jump to it, one of four. So when we go to the fall of France, we will see that we can see here that there's a story, and there's a what and a why, and we know the who, right? Who, and we know the what was France. Now we want to understand, why did he create Vichy France? So let's read. Hitler's main concern was to make sure that France did not go on fighting against him as an ally of Britain. So he intended only to occupy the northern two-thirds of France, already in possession of his armies. The area left to France, officially neutral under General Pétain, but in effect a German puppet state, had a curving northern boundary from the Swiss border to the Pyrenees. Vichy was selected as the capital, and the region became known as Vichy France. We know why. Now, Hitler wanted to basically make France inert, and he created that by creating a French government that was a puppet state to Hitler's Germany. It was, and the capital was placed in Vichy. What he was also after was to not have the French rebel totally against the Germans, and basically have his idea of Lebensraum, which was elbow room, extended into France. And this way, if the French didn't want to live with the Germans, they'd have some place to go. He basically respected the French as being Aryans, but he realized that there were some cultural differences, and if you change the language and you change all the documents and stuff, and you have an imperialist takeover, people are going to want to leave, and this was a good place for them to go. As far as Hitler was concerned, they could go to the south of France, and he would be pretty much content to be in the northern part of France, and as long as he could control the government in France. And that would satisfy Hitler for a little while. But as we can see, even with his throughout history, when he made an agreement with Mussolini, he was quickly going to break it, right? Whenever it was convenient for him. When he made a treaty with Stalin, he quickly broke it when it was convenient for him. And I think that what he was doing with Vichy France is he was actually creating just a window of opportunity for him to go ahead and continue with Blitzkrieg into England. He would come back and take care of this part of France later. But of course, it never really happened that way. So Hitler created a French puppet state. Its state to make sure that France would not rise up against him, against the German occupation. Of northern France. That made a lot of sense, but as soon as Hitler did that, you can go back here to the reading. Charles de Gaulle, the then Undersecretary of War, crossed over to Britain, and from there, on June 18, 4 days before the armistice was signed, he made a famous radio broadcast to the people of France. He urged them to continue to fight and declared himself to be the leader of the Free French who battled the Nazis until 1944. So it didn't work, but it's part of history and it is part of a map. Again, you're going to have to find this map, and we're going to go Vichy France. And we said the date on that was 1941. Let's get an image here. And there you go. If you take the free zone here on the bottom, drop it over, you can see the occupied zone and the free zone. The free zone down in the southern part of France was known as Vichy France. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just to make it easier for staying on page. It'll probably be 2 pages when I'm done. I will be sending this document out to you, so those of you who followed along, you'll understand it a lot better, and I appreciate that. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do one more. The Netherlands, 1940. Let's do that one. So let's look up Netherlands. When we go to the document, and I know why some of you got a little bit confused, but let's go back to the document here. Let's take the Netherlands. The Netherlands, copy there, and let's put it over here. Control V, boom. Netherlands and Belgium, it actually comes up in the document, and it's got 5 instances or 5 occurrences. Let's go down to, here we go. German tanks crossed the border of the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Belgium on May 10. It was the start of the most dramatic demonstration of new German strategy called Blitzkrieg, Lightning War. The tactics utilized air power and fast-moving armor to consolidate gains and then bypass resistance. The technique was used in devastating success against Poland in 1939, bringing the fall of Warsaw in just 4 weeks. In the Netherlands, within 2 days of the start of the invasion, a German division reached the coast near Rotterdam. On the 14th, the Dutch government surrendered to the invader. We are not going to get a lot of information about the Netherlands. We do, however, know what and who with Germany. We don't know why. So we can actually go back here, and I would like to, why did Germany invade the Netherlands? And that's a really good question because other people have asked it. The goal of the Germans was to conquer Europe. They wanted to bypass the French defense line at the eastern border by going through the Netherlands and Belgium. Their occupation of the Netherlands would also prevent England from setting up a base of operations on the European mainland. We know exactly why. It's kind of a really cool thing that this one comes up and it becomes really important. Again, it's strategic position. So when they invaded the Netherlands, Hitler invaded the Netherlands to bypass French forces and to prevent the British from setting up lines in Europe. So basically what he wanted was to capture the land and also the seaports that would build the basis for the British to come in and land on the continent and attack Germany. So we know the who, the what, and the why. And now let's just go get a map of the Netherlands. And 19. That's a good one. This is a really good one because you can see how close it is across the British channel, right? You would see the Netherlands is here and England is here. And in order to control the British, you don't want the British to easily move their troops over and establish a battle line through the Netherlands, so you have to come and attack it first. And that was the reason why Hitler wanted to invade the Netherlands. Again, you're looking at strategic positions, okay? So we found the reasons why. Primarily, we're looking at 1, access to natural resources, 2, some kind of cultural expression or way of showing or a way of demonstrating military might, and 3, of course, natural resources. Did I say that already? Natural resources, expressing cultural dominance or military might, and gaining control of strategic positions, be they for war or for trade. So that's this lesson. Hopefully you can follow this up with the Rhineland and Austria, Sudetenland, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Finland, Luxembourg, Belgium. You're going to find that Luxembourg, Belgium are very similar to the Netherlands. Occupied France is a good one. There's a little bit more information inside the document. So thank you for watching, and thank you for your hard work.